Marina Mabrey assaulting Caitlyn Clarke.
Marina Mabrey came in looking for violence.
Marina Mabrey came up and shoved her to the ground.
The Caitlyn Clarke getting knocked down by Marina Mabrey.
Marina Mabrey was dirty, is dirty.
Marina Mabrey just cleaning out Caitlyn Clarke.
Where does this stop?
Caitlyn Clarke was blindsided by Marina Mabrey's cheap shot as she was still retaining her eye from an earlier prod.
Caitlyn Clarke gets poked in the eye. Marina Mabrey, she just decides to clean Caitlyn Clarke.
No justification. No ball in play, just a full force shove that left Caitlyn tumbling to the ground.
Marina Mabrey cheap shots a Caitlyn Clarke who had just been poked in the eye, with Caitlyn Clarke not even looking in her direction.
And the WNBA has finally taken action.
WNBA has broken their silence about Marina Mabrey. Marina Mabrey technical foul from last night's Fever game has been upgraded to a flagrant 2. The league told ESPN a flagrant 2 comes from a standard fine.
If you fully support Caitlyn Clarke,
She's a star, you can't touch her, you can't breathe on her, but she can't be the league's fucking punching bag.
because this moment changed everything, please leave a 100% CC in the comments section right now.
Caitlyn Clarke is a gifted player.
Caitlyn is the one.
No comparison to Caitlyn Clarke. Caitlyn Clarke is the most must-watch basketball player in world basketball right now. There's nobody that does what Caitlyn Clarke does.
She's the biggest basketball star in the world.
How special and rare Caitlyn Clarke is.
It was one of the most repulsive scenes in the WNBA this season, and the purpose was equally as bad as the physically.
This is a physical league, you need to get used to it.
510 days remain in the third quarter.
This is 5:10 to go in the third quarter. The Caitlyn Clarke getting knocked down by Marina Mabrey. She threw a swinging back fist in a game and got away with it. One possession before getting away with knocking Caitlyn on the ground. One possession later. This is one possession later. So, does this happen? Does this happen?
When Marina Mabrey made a move unrelated to basketball, and without even being present when Clarke and Sheldon had an altercation, Caitlyn Clarke was already inconsolable after JC Sheldon had poked her in the eye. She grabbed her face in an attempt to gather herself before leaving the scene.
JC Sheldon poked Caitlyn Clarke in the eye, and I've never seen a player get poked in the eyes.
Caitlyn crashed to the hardwood floor after Mabrey ran across the court and gave her a brutal shove from behind.
Marina Mabrey of the Sun comes up and just shoves Caitlyn Clarke.
Remarkably, the referees on the court merely gave a technical foul, not even a flagrant, despite the fact that it was an aggressive act completely unrelated to the game and neither a defensive play nor a response to contact.
Caitlyn Clarke, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlyn, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
1 free throw, neither ejection nor possession after Caitlyn was attacked. The government essentially shrugged.
Caitlyn Clarke's technical foul has not been rescinded, that she got teched for essentially like clearing someone from her space after they poked her in the eye.
However, Marina Mabrey had already thrown a spinning back fist 1 possession prior, thus that wasn't even the first red flag.
How unhinged Marina Mabrey is, man. She is a deadly weapon out here, alright? Just crazy how she was behaving. Right now, honestly, if you look at the arms, nobody hit her in the face, man. She is just out here winning an Oscar, trying to get something going here. I mean, trying to find a reason to hit somebody.
Yes, there was a true MMA style move directed at Aliyah Boston. Video shows the referee watching at the slap and doing nothing, but if Boston hadn't ducked, it could have caused major harm.
All the way through. This was the second time I've seen a ref staring at something, just staring at it and not calling anything.
That violent sequence in real time to consecutive lewd plays went almost unchallenged, and Mabrey grinned and laughed through the alcohol from the audience, knowing full well that she was getting away with it. These weren't singular incidents. Throughout the game, Mabrey's actions were characterized as uncontrolled, hazardous, and a walking technical. It wasn't competitive fire, rather, it was chaos masquerading as toughness. Both critics and admirers referred to her acts as willful and careless, calling for responsibility.
Mabrey assessed the technical foul, was not ejected, and who's gonna step up and do something?
In the meantime, Caitlyn Clarke did nothing to incite the attack. Her sole transgression was being the league's most watched and talked about player, and this wasn't the first time.
The WNBA, you've got Caitlyn Clarke, and I feel like the WNBA does not know how to handle this. Man, she got beat up on the court. What's her face? Stuck her fingers in her eye. Then she got shoved to the ground. Look at this. They were treating her like a damn punching bag. This was wild. The WNBA needs to learn how to manage this.
J.C. Sheldon, Kennedy Carter, and now Marina Mabrey, there is a trend showing that Caitlyn is being singled out.
If you check out here, you look at her nails, they are quite long. And in this next picture right here, where she's quite literally like digging them into Caitlyn Clarke's arm, you can understand where she was getting under Caitlyn's skin. That caused tempers to flare. And right here, you see a lot of chirping starting, where JC says, "You can't do that," and Caitlyn Clarke says, "I can do whatever the bleep I want to do."
Millions of people watched it live this time, and they weren't just upset, they were fed up. When Marina Mabrey sent Caitlyn Clarke to the ground, the entire WNBA matchup changed, and to be honest, online analysts didn't hold back. What was meant to be a fierce but fair matchup turned into one of the season's most contentious events, and the internet was ablaze with outrage, demanding justice for Caitlyn and consequences for Mabrey. However, the league's response felt too slow, too soft, and too familiar.
There were 6 technical fouls issued, there were 3 ejections, and there were 2 flagrant fouls. For one game, that is bananas. Even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabrey, this probably wouldn't have happened.
Following the game, there was a fierce backlash from numerous YouTubers and sports commentators who broke down the incident frame by frame. They weren't just upset with Mabrey. They were also upset with the referees. They repeatedly brought up the point that if Mabrey had been sent off immediately, as she should have been, the Sophie Cunningham retaliation, the brawl, and the ensuing storm of fines would never have occurred, and the referees would have missed a dot in her post-game comments. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, pointed it out straight.
Stephanie White lit the refs on fire in a way slightly underneath.
She highlighted how the game's temperature was not set by the officials.
The referees, they set the temperature for how the game is going to be played.
And publicly denounced their failure to control the chaos sooner. But she wasn't the only one. Supporters were echoing her on social media, saying that Caitlyn Clarke was being used as a punching bag.
She's a star, you can't touch her, you can't breathe on her, but she can't be the league's fucking punching bag.
And it is only fueled by the league's silence. Marina Mabrey, who wasn't even kicked out of the game, made fun of the criticism as fans flooded her social media with demands for a fine or suspension. She slyly responded, "Every time they comment, I make money." It was like a slap in the face to every viewer who had tuned in to watch competitive basketball, not WWE-style antics. And then the updates came under increasing public pressure and extensive media coverage. That's the level of accountability. We're talking about when a player attacks the league's most valuable star, avoids actual punishment in the game, and laughs off the fallout. Ma's technical foul was finally elevated to a flagrant by the WNBA.
The referees just said, nah, was not worth an injection. She has now been upgraded to a flagrant 2. The contact made by Mabrey did not rise to the level of ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant 2 penalty. I've never seen a technical upgraded to a flagrant 2 before. I've never seen that happening before.
An incident that should have occurred immediately during play, but the outrage didn't end there because, despite the flagrant 2 designation, there was no suspension, no missed game time, no real accountability, just a fine. To put it another way, during the same game, Caitlyn Clarke received a technical foul for trying to clear space after being poked in the eye. Let that sink in. The victim gets hit in the face, is shoved to the ground, and still walks away with the tech while the aggressor walks up.
People are gonna get upset. And that is what made the entire game completely change. Leaving Marina Mabrey in, she was smiling about it, people were pissed. I mean, the crowd was just constantly booing her every single time she got the ball.
The hypocrisy wasn't overlooked. as some even questioned whether she purposefully took advantage of the commotion to eliminate the league's top player. Cunningham, Sophie, this whole situation revealed a blatant bias in how players are punished, depending on who they're protecting or attacking, as even commentators like Dave Portnoy and sports media veterans pointed out. Caitlyn's teammate was sent off and fined for defending Clarke with a hard foul on JC Sheldon, but Marina Mabrey continued to play after pushing Clarke from behind. Sophie plays against Caitlyn Mabrey.
Ratings go down 50% when she's not there. Ratings rocket through the roof when she is. Everybody has to watch. She's box office. So she's playing some girl, JC Sheldon, longtime rival from Ohio State. Now this girl can't hold, can you say jockstrap? I'll say can't hold her bra. Can't hold her underwear, okay? Can't hold Caitlyn's jockstrap. She's not that good, but they hate each other. They play each other. It's always a little chippy. JC Sheldon today, she's getting cooked per usual.
They observed that the league appears more focused on maintaining a fair image than on protecting its franchise player. As Portnoy put it bluntly, she is the only reason people are watching, and you allowed this to happen. Now, fans, analysts, and even former pros are all asking the same question. What is the WNBA doing to protect its biggest asset? If the answer is nothing, then the issue isn't with Marina Mabrey. Rather, it's with the system that permitted her to act in such a way and escape punishment. This wasn't just an on-court incident. Rather, it was a boiling point where fans, players, and even casual viewers witnessed the double standard in real time. Millions of new people have discovered the WNBA thanks to Caitlyn Clarke.
WNBA is in a pivotal moment right now. They have the CBA coming up, and so much of the viewership, so much of the bottom line and revenue is dependent on none other than Caitlyn Clarke.
When the referees failed to protect Caitlyn Clarke, her teammate Sophie Cunningham did what no official seemed willing to do. She took a stand. However, if the league allows her to be singled out, mistreated, and disrespected without facing serious repercussions, they may lose the very audience she brought with her. What followed was more than just retaliation, it was a message.
The boiling point was Sophie Cunningham's hard foul on JC Sheldon, and I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody.
And not just in words, as the game JCS has just 46 seconds remaining. In a move that has since gone viral, Sheldon, who had earlier poked Clarke in the eye, went up for what she believed would be an easy layup. But Sophie had other ideas. Cunningham called a hard foul, sending Sheldon flying to the court. The crowd erupted, not in shock but in approval, with fans chanting Sophie's name. She was removed from the game for the first time in a long time. Someone wearing a Fever jersey made it clear that there would be repercussions if you tamper with Caitlyn Clarke. It was symbolic as well as physical. You must adjust to this tough league. Cunningham wasn't just protecting her teammate. She was also protecting the franchise's future. The WNBA is at a turning point, and Caitlyn Clarke is the main reason for its recent increase in significance, money, and viewership, yet she gets cheap shots every game. The league can no longer afford to act as though dirty fouls and disrespect are commonplace. Sophie's foul set off a series of events that resulted in ejections, several penalties, and contentious post-match interviews.
Sophie Cunningham's foul was much more in the line of basketball than Marina Mabrey's was.
However, it also brought up a bigger issue that the league cannot overlook. If the referees are unwilling to defend Caitlyn Clarke, who will? The evidence indicates that both the players and the fans are fed up with waiting for a response. In her post-game remarks, Stephanie White, the head coach of the Fever, made it apparent that enough was enough. She didn't hold back from criticizing the officiating and that she wasn't okay with it, probably because the league knew she had a point. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clarke sat silently next to her, clearly irritated, and who could blame her at every turn? It seems like the officials are either too scared to take charge of the irony or asleep at the whistle.
Clarke scored 32, dished out 9 assists to become the first player in WNBA history to have 100 points, 30 rebounds, 30 assists in a player's first 5 games of a season.
The hypocrisy has never been more evident than when Sophie Cunningham dared to return that energy when Caitlyn was repeatedly scratched in the eye or shoved from behind. Despite all of this, Caitlyn Clarke maintained her composure and finished that same game with 20 points for threes and a performance that reminded everyone why she is the league's most valuable player, not just for her stats, but for what she represents. She is a once-in-a-generation talent, the type of athlete who doesn't just play the game, she transforms it.
Caitlyn Clarke in this particular game kept complaining that she was like scratching her arm and complained to the officials about it. And honestly, the entire game, they were jawing at each other. They were chirping at each other. Marina Mabrey always on the side, coming to her teammates' defense.
The Caitlyn Clarke effect is real and quantifiable. In just a few months, the WNBA has seen a 200% increase in viewership, a 200% increase in ticket sales, a social media explosion, and national media coverage never before experienced by the league. Dave Portnoy claimed that when she isn't performing, her box office receipts drop by 50%.
CBA based on numbers that Caitlyn Clarke is largely responsible for. Yes, she should be treated differently.
Kurt Schilling went on to say, "The only reason I even watch the WNBA is because of Caitlyn Clarke. These are mainstream voices pointing out the undeniable truth that Caitlyn Clarke is the league right now, and that's exactly why the league's failure. To protect her has become such a massive issue when you let players like Marina Mabrey and Chennedy Carter treat Clarke like a moving target. You're not just hurting the player, you're risking everything she's built for her, but for the future of women's basketball." Drop a CC 100% in the comments section. The message is clear: you don't silence the star, you protect her, and the world is watching. If you're tired of the WNBA protecting dirty plays while turning their backs on Caitlyn Clarke, hit that like button, smash subscribe to WNBA Insider, and turn on notifications. We're not just following the game, we're holding the league accountable. Stay locked in, the story isn't over.